Hello everyone, today on Binky's Gaming Thoughts, we're going to delve more into Dragon Age 4 theories and predictions with more compiled proof and history that I pieced together. In my last video, I said I'd be talking about the old gods. So why do I have elf ears and a Valasleen? Well, that's because of theory number 2. The old gods are the Evanuris. Okay, So how does the fall of Alathan coincide with the Golden City becoming the Black City? What came first? What influenced what? I have even more notes today, and there's lots to go through, so let's dive right into it. The Chant of Light says the Maker created the veil, but we of course know that Fen'Harel created the veil because Solus said so himself, and the veil was created as a result of him imprisoning the Evanuris for killing Mythal. Note that the Evanuris represent good aspects such as nurturing, crafting, arts, hunting, stuff like that. The Forgotten Ones are the opposing faction, representing the dark aspects such as disease and war. The old gods represent a mix of both, such as works and beauty or chaos. So the constant feud between the two factions and Fen'Harel's neutrality is what allowed him to go between the two factions, and fool both of them and imprison both factions, both the Evanuris and the Forgotten Ones. And he was considered among the Elven people as much an Evanuris as a Forgotten One. Also, there are a few versions of the story with differing details, but the result is the same. The result being both the Evanuris and the Forgotten Ones are cast away and done so by Fen'Harel. Now, it's told that the old gods were whispering to men after the creation of the veil, so that the Magisters would then try to awaken them or perhaps free them being sleeping dragons. So the theories of the old gods, being the Evanuris, become a bit more plausible in that regard, and there's more coming up. Although, I actually believe that the Forgotten Ones are the beings who were whispering to men and teaching them blood magic and feeding the Magisters their propaganda, making the Magisters want to kill the Evanuris, and making the Magisters want to replace the old gods. Because if you think about it, that's kind of what Corypheus wanted to do, and that's what the Architect wanted to do, and I also believe the Forgotten Ones are not the old gods. I mean, there was already the feud between the two. The Forgotten Ones wanted the Evanuris destroyed, and the ongoing war has been going on for a long time. And they could be continuing this war through the blights. You see, an awakened old god causes a blight, probably because of the taint of the Magisters and the Darkspawn, and to stop the blight, that old god has to be destroyed. Meaning that out of 5 blights so far, 5 Evanuris are destroyed. The Architect wanted to destroy the remaining old gods. The calling by Corypheus was made so that the Grey Wardens could destroy the old gods in the Deep Roads. So these Magisters want the old gods destroyed. If the old gods are Evanuris, then they don't want to be destroyed, but only freed. So the Forgotten Ones whispering to the Magisters is starting to make more sense, seeing as they are fueling these Magisters' desire to destroy the old gods. The only unknown to me is what the Forgotten Ones have planned once all Evanuris have been destroyed. Alright, so the elves believe that their gods have been trapped in the Eternal City at the heart of the Beyond, and that Fen'Harel still roams the Beyond, keeping watch over the gods if ever they were to escape their prison. Fen'Harel awoke after millennia of slumber in 940 Dragon. If Solus has been in a slumber all this time, then he wasn't there to keep watch over the imprisoned Evanuris and Forgotten Ones. He wasn't there to keep an eye on them. So they could whisper, they could try to escape, they could try to be free, they could try to kill each other through other people. Manipulation to get others to do the dirty work for them. And he wasn't there to stop it. He wasn't there to prevent any of that. So that means the old gods, unwatched by their captor, whispered to men, the magisters, and this created the old god belief system among humans, who appeared after the creation of the veil, and therefore after the Evanuris and Forgotten Ones were imprisoned by Fen'Harel. The magisters found one first Evanuris, whom the magisters called Dumat. Perhaps the Evanuris either changed their names or the Forgotten Ones fed the Vince these names. Or perhaps the magisters created the names themselves. That remains unknown to me. But the names are different. It's said that the Maker calls this the original sin. Men believing in the old gods. But that belief is a man-made one, said by Andrastians and those who wrote the Chant of Light. They believe that the Maker was there and always existed. But it's very possible, following this theory along, that that was established after. The Magister, who is the Maker, could have also told Andraste, his prophet, that men abandoned him with the original sin in order to establish himself as the one and only true God, the one and only ruler of all mankind, thus creating confusion within the established timelines where only scholars have questioned these things and questioned whether or not they are facts or just beliefs, which of course is blasphemy among Andrastians. No one's even allowed to talk about it. Maker of chaos at work? I think so. Also, I mentioned in my previous video that the Tevinters have a discord with Andrastians about Andraste. Dorian in Inquisition explains that the Tevinters believe that Andraste, it was human and not bride of the Maker, descended onto Thedas, as the Andrastians believe. This is what caused the schism between the Chantry and the Imperial Chantry, thus bringing the Black Divine and all those other Tevinter establishments. Looking at this might indicate how it's possible that humans took things to a different level, literally, and interpreting how they wanted it to be. After all, the Chant of Light was written after Andraste, not by Andraste, who was the only one who had ever spoken to the Maker and who has ever seen the Maker. So the Chant of Light can't necessarily be taken at face value. 7 Magisters entered the Golden City using blood magic, and were then cast back down as Darkspawn. The first Darkspawn. It is said that there were 7 high priests and priestesses, so that each could connect with each of the old gods. Therefore, 7 old gods. Of the Evanuris that were cast away, therefore excluding Mythal and excluding Fen'Harel, there are, drumroll, 7 Evanuris, them being Andruil, Dirthamen, Elgarnan, Falondin, Gilanain, June, and Silays. By the way, this is an alternate version of June, as per Dragon Age Inquisition. So let's try to link old gods and Evanuris if we can. Elgarnan is the god of vengeance, the All-Father, the leader. Perhaps could be Andorel? He leads slaves. Falondin, friend of the dead, the guide. Possibly Luzacan of the night. Dirthamen, keeper of secrets. Possibly Razikali, who is of mystery. Andruil, goddess of the hunt, blood, and she's a great hunter herself. So it could be Dumat or Zazikel, however you look at it. Silays, the hearth keeper, gave elves fire. She's the goddess of the arts, taught them how to use rope and such. So that's possibly Toad, dragon of fire. June is the god of craft, taught elves to make bows and such. So perhaps Urthemiel for the works and beauty. Gilanain, mother of the Hala, goddess of navigation. Perhaps Zazikel is navigation. When navigation is corrupted, it becomes chaotic. Of course, these assumptions, could all be wrong. Each Evanuris could have become the total and complete opposite of what they were as Evanuris, but for speculation purposes, I also theorize that if an old god / Evanuris is female, they would be associated with a high priestess, and if they were male, they would be associated with a high priest. This is just deduction, although there isn't enough evidence to explore this theory further, but it only makes sense. What remains constant, for sure, is that the said Golden City is a city in the Fade, now the Black City, and the Magisters saw a city in the Fade, and the elves say that there is an eternal city in the Fade. So eternal city equals city in the Fade. Golden black city equals city in the Fade. So eternal city equals golden/black city. That city, whatever its purpose, whatever its color, whatever its origin, is there in the Fade and has always been there. Perhaps the Evanuris wanted to go there themselves, and Mythal, the voice of reason, spoke against it, disallowed it, being the mother and figure of authority, and maybe they killed her because she was preventing them from going and they wanted to go there. Who knows? People say that the chronology doesn't tie up. Well, of course it doesn't, not if you take the Chant of Light at face value. But if you keep in mind that perhaps the Maker said untruths to Andraste and how the Chant of Light was written after, it all makes more sense. We have to bear in mind how people believe the Maker to have always existed, but no one knows exactly where men came from and when exactly, only that it was actually before the first blight, therefore before the Magisters entered the city, and after the veil was created, therefore after the Evanuris were locked away already. Think about it. Men came after the fall of Arlathan. The fall of Arlathan came after the veil was created. The veil was created as a result of the Evanuris and Forgotten Ones being locked away by Fen'Harel. Dots are connecting. Sol is painted on the walls of Skyhold, scenes depicting, amongst his many wolves, the ascension of the Magisters into the Golden City and the transformation of the Golden City to the Black City. Now, why would he paint this if it did not have significance to who he is, what he's done, and what his mission is? Why would he paint this if those events were not somehow linked to the events he caused, what he's done? I believe those are clues. Also, IGN reported, in the Temple of Mythal, there is a sequence that has coherent words when played backwards. One of the phrases understood is, Mythal speaks the calling. We know that Mythal, while in Flemeth's body, gave her the power to transform into a dragon. We also know that the old gods are dragons. We've yet to see Solus transform into a dragon though, but since he's also a Forgotten One, maybe not. We also know that the calling is the song that Grey Wardens hear when they near their death and therefore enter the deep roads before they die. The calling is also a song heard by Darkspawn, especially when an old god awakens and brings forth a blight. If Mythal, an Evanuris, speaks the calling, then perhaps all other Evanuris speak the calling as well. The old gods speak the calling. If the old gods are Evanuris locked away by Fen'Harel, then knowing that Mythal also speaks the calling makes perfect sense. So the calling could be done by the Evanuris either to free themselves or once they're already awakened. And the whispers could be done by the Forgotten Ones in order to get the Evanuris destroyed. Mythal and Fen'Harel are the only Evanuris not imprisoned, and therefore not tainted and not bringing forth any taint by speaking the calling. Therefore, them speaking the calling is safe. Perhaps then they are the key to stopping the calling for Grey Wardens, or even to preventing blights or finding another one to end the blights. No matter. This little bit of evidence is further proof that the Evanuris who are locked away and the old gods are one and the same. And remember, there are 7 old gods and 7 locked up Evanuris. That number is key here. So I think this completes this lengthy theory. I hope I've made sense through it all, at least just a bit. And more theories and predictions on blights and the Maker in my next video. So thanks for watching and listening. Be sure to subscribe, like, share, the usual. You can also follow me on Twitter at BinkyProd. And don't hesitate to comment your thoughts and theories and predictions and evidence that you may have found. Masaranas.